um, markings and damages that made her suspect that that there was more to what had happened to them in that bedroom. So I'll say he struck my daughter. You know, I'll give that out. He punched her. And
all the Gonzalez family received on November 13th is one they'll never forget.
We were, it was Sunday around
We're watching football.
one-ish, and we were
Like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And
We're watching
our
football.
son was here. Everybody was home, except for she was down at her home
We
in LA.
gather on Sunday.
And my niece called me, and she was freaking out. And she said, "Christine, have you talked to Kaylee?" And I said, "Yesterday, you know, like last night." And she said, something bad happened. She was just bawling. And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" And she said, "I think Kaylee's dead." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she
All our
said,
stomachs just dropped.
she said there was somebody just called me and they live down there. And she said there was a party last night and Kaylee, so we went in and shot the party up and Kaylee was shot. And I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, and I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no, and I kept calling. I called Kaylee and went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway, but it was saying an unconscious person. And we're saying, okay, maybe this isn't, like, maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying, "My name is Gonzalez, and we heard that my daughter Kaylee Gonzalez was killed in an accident," and they said, "Oh, we can't give you any more information, we'll call you back." Well, next thing you know, some more phones started ringing out. Daughters came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, "Mom, somebody just called me and said that Kaylee's dead." And we're like, "What? Like, who was it?" She's like, "I don't know, it's somebody that they're there and Kaylee's dead." And we were like, "Oh my God, like this can't be," and it's just very, very, very dramatic.
These protocols have to be updated.
Yeah.
These protocols of somebody showing up at your door 10 hours later is ridiculous.
Because we had hours of panic before the sheriff
It was
department.
terrible.
It was about 4:30. And I don't know.
So you guys, they never called you. You guys found this out from family members that were in the area, and you guys didn't get notified. You actually reached out to them, and you guys still didn't get notified.
I wanted calling them twice.
Their
I said,
protocols are all about, like, maybe they'll commit suicide or something, but they have to be updated because social media moves so fast, so quick. That's why we are using social media. I'm not using the most common channels.
we called Karen and we asked Karen if she had heard anything, and she goes, "Yes, I was told that I needed to announce that there was an accident."
Was good.
We thought maybe Maddie was the unconscious person, and we had already been told by several people, like 100% Kaylee was dead. And we were like, 100%, and they're all, they're like,
Maddie
yes.
was just unconscious.
And then we're like, but Karen got a call saying to come down there? We haven't got a
I thought
call.
that was a good sign.
So we're like, oh.
And I kept giving them hope. I kept saying, if it happened last night, you guys would know by now. I kept giving them hope. I said, they just released an article that the roommates are being questioned right now. They probably took their phones, Mom. Like, I just kept giving them hope because I live in Los Angeles. I wasn't here. And that's all I could do. But, like, it's just this feeling in your gut that, like, I just sat with.
I knew as soon as my niece, as soon as Sabrina called, I knew that it was real.
Yeah.
And she was freaking out.
And then cops showed up around
4:30. Yeah, the sheriff came around 4:30, and then he told us that there were 4 victims, and we said, "Is one of them Maddie Morgan?" And he told us yes. But we realized that it was Kaylee and Maddie.
We still knew she was going down there, and I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Karen was still on her way, and she
She'll drive me.
And then she got down there, and she got there about 20 minutes after we got the news. And
another person who was broken by the news of Kaylee's passing is
called me, and they live down there. And she said there was a party last night, and Kaylee, so we went in and shot the party up, and Kaylee was shot. I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I threw my phone, I started screaming, I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all of her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, and Maddie wouldn't answer. And I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kayla was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no, and I kept calling. I called Kaylee and I went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it was like 1122 King Road. Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway, but it was saying an unconscious person.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. I like to start by saying that this is all my thoughts, my speculations. This is the case of the Idaho 4 that I have been talking about in my channel since it first happened on the 13th of November 2022. At 11:58 the next day, that would be on the 13th of November, a 911 call came in from 1122 Kings Road for an unconscious person. A Vandy's alert was put out by 2 in the afternoon, and then another one was put on a bit later, I believe by 3:30 in the afternoon. Everyone was obviously shocked. There was mixed messages. In the beginning, it was said that it was a targeted attack, that one or more of the victims were targeted, basically. Then later on, they changed it by saying, especially the prosecutor, William Thompson, always said from the beginning that he believed the residence was the target. There was even talk about crime of passion. There was even talk about burglary gone wrong. But it was always said that it was multiple stab wounds. We've heard that Kaylee's injuries were worse than her friends because of Kaylee had different weapons, I believe, used on her, number one. We found that out recently. So that would automatically, in my mindset, it would make me believe the first possibility is there was multiple suspects. The 911 call was never brought out to the public until the last 5 weeks, I believe. We got the transcript, and then later on the 911 call, which up to today doesn't make sense. Today I'd like to go back to one of the important topics that I've spoken about recently. And I ain't accusing anyone of these crimes, but today I'd like to talk about Jack D. I want to know why Jack D was ruled out last. I want to know why this interview, to start with, is for fair use purpose. The interview I just showed, it was done by Chronicles of Olivia. She does wonderful interviews and documents, and she was boots on the ground from the beginning of this case. Kaylee was a follower on TikTok of Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia. So it was the Congalvis, Steve, Kaylee's sister Olivia, and her mother who specifically asked for Olivia to conduct this interview out of respect that their daughter Kaylee used to follow Olivia. And I think that's a nice thing to do. In this interview, you can clearly hear Kaylee's mother saying the first day she found out about what happened, unfortunately, she said if something would have happened, Maddie would have called. Jack would have called. She said, I kept on calling Maddie. I kept on calling Jack. It was ringing, ringing, ringing. No answer. Now my question is, let's not forget, Maddie and Kaylee called Jack D between 2:24 a.m. at night, right up to the last call being 2:52. So he didn't pick up at night, obviously. If he was sleepy, I can understand that, which is kind of difficult, because he was just at the corner club. So it doesn't make sense. He was there till the picture was taken at 1:25, so he could have been there till 1:30, got home at 1:45. I don't think he fell asleep so quickly. Let's say he fell asleep. Let's stick to his alibi. Now the next day, he's supposed to go to work at 11:30, it was said. Kaylee's mother is calling him when she found out the news after 1 in the afternoon. Why didn't he call Kaylee's mother and father to tell them, and Maddie's parents to tell them that Maddie and Kaylee were unalived? Nothing makes sense with Jack D. And the bruises that he has, injuries on his face and his hands, was from the very beginning. He had those pictures up on his TikTok. The ones where he shows his fingers with the orange hoodie. Why was he ruled out the last? The mayor said it was a crime of passion. I automatically think of Jack D. Just speculations. And Jack Showalter. Jack Showalter was good in harassing females, and Jack D was going to lose the love of his life. Jack D and Kaylee were on and off for 5 to 6 years. But Kaylee wasn't following him on Instagram. He was following her. What if Maddie told Adam that Kaylee was leaving to Austin, Texas, and to Europe for a year? What if she actually told that, and that was supposed to be a secret? What if Adam wasn't supposed to find that out because Jack D did not know? And I don't buy into this story about the Congalvis saying that, oh, we checked Jack D, came the next day, he showed us his neck and his body and he had no injuries. It's great to see in his pictures that his fingers are injured. Don't ever forget, family, people who are related to the victims can be very biased, can be, I don't mean naive in a disrespectful way, but yes, they can be kind of blindsided. And Jack D was the last person to be ruled out. So it is a question to be asked. Where was Jack D that night? Did he sleep? Did he actually sleep so early? The whole of the college knew about these unalivings before 10 a.m. So how come Jack D did not call Maddie and Kaylee's parents to inform them? After all, he was dating Kaylee on and off for 6 years. I really believe that Jack D could have been involved. Indirectly even. He could have rented someone to do this. And maybe not for all the 4 victims, maybe just Maddie and Kaylee, and things went wrong. But I still believe that Ethan and Xana were unalived by the Davids and the Frats, the Greek lives. Maddie and Kaylee were unalived by the Jacks too. They're part of the Greek life too, although Jack S got kicked out of his frat. There was different motives, different targets, but everyone who had some kind of anger rage. Everyone who wanted to be involved somehow or the other decided to take it out that night on the girls. Just look at everything that's happening somewhere at the France. Look at everything that is happening in the France. That cannot be a coincidence. Look at what's happening at the Banfield. The Banfield police body cam caught a woman yelling, "Stop it, stop." And it's like all the college students knew about these crimes. I wouldn't be surprised if they were paying to watch these crimes. After all, we have DM, BF using Instagram, Yik Yak, Indeed app the next day, Snapchat, TikTok. BF was taking pictures for 1 minute. What was she doing with those pictures? Obviously, she was sending them around. They were creating contacts. Let me know what you'll think. Because I hate to say this, the surviving roommate story and Hunter has never made sense to me. And I personally believe that Ann Taylor is going to take them down with the 911 call. That is what really needs to be put on trial, exposed on trial. It can never take 8 to 9 hours to call the police. You heard what Steve Gongalves, his wife, Kaylee's mother, said. She said it took 12 hours for them to call them, to tell them that Kaylee was unalived. And it took the victims, the surviving roommates, 8 to 9 hours to call the police. That should be just a federal crime itself. Let me know what y'all think. Please like, share, and subscribe.